What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome into the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and we got some leaked intel on how the New York Jets decided to let Aaron Rodgers walk during the NFL offseason. This is a crazy show for you guys, so stay through the entire thing as we got a lot to talk about on this Aaron Rodgers situation. But let's just dive into the leaked intel here. Coming in from Dianna Russini, who dropped a bombshell article for The Athletic early on this morning, saying the biggest non-Super Bowl development on Sunday was the news that Aaron Rodgers' era is over for the New York Jets. When the Jets had conversations with him about a potential return, I was told that they set some boundaries. He'd have to attend all training camp practices, and he'd no longer be permitted to do his Pat McAfee show appearances. More broadly, it makes clear new head coach Aaron Glenn and Darren Muge are putting an emphasis on individual accountability. Now, this is crazy that the Jets pretty much laid out certain things that Rodgers had to do if he wanted to come back as the Jets quarterback. You had to show up for all practices during training camp. As we know, Aaron Rodgers would not be the biggest fan of having to go to these training camp practices. But the biggest part of this, no more Pat McAfee show appearances. I love this for the new New York Jets front office and coaching staff of them putting their foot down with this Rodgers situation and putting the team before Rodgers, because over the last couple of years, it was Rodgers before the team. Now, we got a lot more to dive into from this Athletic article, but before we do so, we actually have an AFC East sub-battle and a race to 3,000 subscribers. We're going against Bill's Breakdown here, a new channel here at Chat Sports, and we got the early lead. But if you guys want to stay up to date around everything on your New York Jets, help me out and go down there and hit that subscribe button. Maybe we could hit 3K off today's show. So some more kind of buzz coming off this Aaron Rodgers situation. So Jay Glazer tweeted out that pretty much Rodgers won't be returning as the Jets as the Jets quarterback this offseason. And then Quinnen Williams quote tweeted that and said, "Another rebuild year for me, I guess." And I don't blame Quinnen for being upset with this news, considering his record is 32-68, a part of the New York Jets organization. He is a blue chipper. He's one of the best defensive tackles, if not the best defensive tackle in the National Football League. So Quinnen, I understand why you are upset about this situation, but even more from The Athletic, from this article, as they carried on to say, if Rodgers was going to return, it was only going to work under a few conditions, namely that Rodgers understood that no player is above the team, even him. If the Jets are trying to go in a new direction and build for the future, letting him go is the most sensible outcome. So how did the Jets let him go? Well, you could make him a pre-June 1st release or trade, which would have you taking on $49 million of dead cap in 2025, and you'd actually lose $25.5 million in savings for this year's free agency. So if the Jets want to completely get Rodgers off the books for 2026 and beyond, this would be the best way to do so. But what I think is more likely is they designate him as a post-June 1st release. Now, I don't think any team is trading for Aaron Rodgers, but if you would do this, you'd only have a dead cap of $14 million in 2025 and actually save $9.5 million, but you would just take that dead cap and roll it over to 2026 and have $35 million dead there. So it's kind of like if you want to just, take it on the chest, eat the bullet there, and just have all of the dead cap for 2025, but then that clears you up for 2026. You just cut him pre-June 1st, but if you want to have some more spending this year in free agency, possibly go get another quarterback, then you would designate him as a post-June 1st cut. But speaking of another quarterback, this is what Zach Rosenblatt had to say on the Jets QB situation, saying the options aren't especially appealing. Veteran Tyrod Taylor and injured 2024 draft pick Jordan Travis are the only quarterbacks on the roster, and it's not considered a particularly strong draft or free agency class. Former Jet Sam Darnold will be the top free agent, and maybe he consider returning, but that feels unlikely at this juncture. Kirk Cousins will likely break free from the Atlanta Falcons in some fashion, but he's turning 37 and coming off his worst season bench for Michael Penix. And I actually think if I had the power rank who's most likely to be the Jets starting quarterback next season, number one, you got to go Tyrod Taylor. He's already on the roster for $6.8 million next season. But if I had to pinpoint number two, it would have to be Kirk Cousins, because Kirk is going to be in a very similar situation that Russell Wilson was in last offseason, where the Broncos were paying majority of his salary and then he could just go sign a one-year, $2 million deal elsewhere. I could see that being the exact same situation for Kirk, where the Falcons say, hey, we're going to cut bait, and then Kirk can go sign elsewhere for a cheap deal. But I do want to show you guys some stats on Kirk here. So left side of your screen, you see the first 9 games where Kirk Cousins was healthy, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But Kirk actually came out this offseason and said he was dealing with an elbow injury, and that happened during the Saints game. So the last 5 games after that, you're seeing on the right side of your screen, that is when Kirk got hurt. He had 1 touchdown to 9 interceptions. So I think a lot of people would panic and be like, oh, why are we bringing in Kirk Cousins? He's got nothing left in the tank. And I agree with you to some extent, but also I think Kirk would add some much-needed stability to this organization because it has been a dumpster fire over the last couple of years. And if you have a guy like Kirk who can play off a good run game, which you know Aaron Glenn and Tanner Eggstrand will bring to this organization, you get him going in the play-action game. And let's just say Kirk is right. What if that elbow did bother him a whole lot? I think you could get a steal of a quarterback for just $2-3 million per year this upcoming season. So watch out for the Jets. If it's not Tyrod Taylor, if I had to call it, I think it would be Kirk Cousins. And I'm not saying the Jets would go on a Super Bowl run with Cousins, but maybe they have a year like the Steelers did last season with Russell Wilson. Strong defense, strong weapon on the outside, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, and you have that run game going off of it. But I'll ask you guys this. Would you sign Kirk Cousins? Give me an S for sign or give me a P for pass. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. But more on the next Jets quarterback, Zach said the Jets could take a swing at somebody like Justin Fields or trade for Detroit Lions backup Hendon Hooker, who has ties to the Jets coaching staff, but neither option would indicate the Jets should be taken seriously as a playoff contender this season. The Jets have the number 7 pick, which is out of the range of the top quarterback prospects in this class too. And I agree. I think it's unlikely that the Jets are able to land Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward unless they want to, take some future draft capital and trade up the, pick number 2, for example. But I think Justin Fields is an interesting option here because he does have all types of potential. Every, athletic check mark you would need for a quarterback, Justin Fields checks that box. And plus, if you're seeing what Jalen Hurts did this past season with the Eagles, is Jalen Hurts necessarily the best passer from the pocket? Not at all. Same with Justin Fields, but their dual threat ability would just help the run game because you got to give him some respect on these read option plays, and he has been a great dual threat quarterback so far in his career. I mean, he ran for 1,100 yards back in 2022 in just 15 games, and he had 8 touchdowns on the ground. But his contract projection is simple. It's just a 1-year, $11 million deal, fully guaranteed to get Justin Fields to your new team. So could the New York Jets view him as kind of a bridge, kind of low-risk, high-reward option this offseason? I think they could. And if you're looking at these past guys like Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, who were in poorly ran organizations, went somewhere else, and then ended up flourishing, I wonder if the Jets could view the same as Justin Fields, where if they bring him in, get some stability around him, get some weapons, and really believe in him, maybe they could view Justin Fields as a guy that could take that step like a Darnold, like a Baker, or a Geno Smith. But I do want to talk about Hendon Hooker because I get a lot of comments on these shows. Oh, the Jets need to go out there and trade for Lions backup quarterback Hendon Hooker. Now, he's an interesting prospect because coming out of college, he was, up there in terms of quarterbacks in his own draft class, but he did tear his knee up in his final year, which was a big reason why he fell to the 3rd round in that year's draft. But his college stats in 49 games played, he was very accurate with the football. Again, Tennessee kind of runs a gimmicky college offense, so the completion percentage is just naturally up, but 67%, 80 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 9.5 yards per attempt, and he almost threw for 9,000 yards. So my take on the Hendon Hooker situation, I think it would be fun to kind of roll the die on a guy who has never had a chance to start in the NFL. And yes, he is familiar with the Jets coaching staff, so he will know what they want to accomplish on every single play, but this won't fix the quarterback position. And honestly, none of these guys at the Jets you could bring in this offseason will fully fix that QB position, but I don't hate the idea. If you have Tyrod, you trade for Hendon Hooker, maybe you ride out with Tyrod for the first couple of months, then if the season kind of goes down the drain, then maybe you throw in Hendon Hooker, see what you have there, and then both of those guys end up not being, the true franchise quarterback, then maybe you could look to the 2026 NFL draft, get a guy like Arch Manning or any of these top prospects next season. But I'll ask you guys, what say you on this one? Would you trade for Hendon Hooker? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no down below in the comments section. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. Another friendly reminder to hit that subscribe button. It's going to be a hectic offseason here in New York. If you guys want to stay up to date around everything on your New York Jets, subscribe today, and we'll see you guys next time. As always, go Jets.